My fiance's family planned our wedding without me and sent the bill. I responded, cancel everything under my credit card. Hours later, the venue called them panicking. The email came through at 11:23 p.m. on a Friday while I was reviewing quarterly reports in my home office. Subject line, final payment confirmation, Ashford Estate wedding package. I didn't recognize the sender, some events coordinator named Juliette Moreau, and I certainly didn't remember booking anything at the Ashford Estate. I opened it anyway, thinking maybe it was spam or a phishing attempt. Instead, I found an itemized invoice for $63,400. Ceremony venue rental, cocktail hour package, reception dinner for 280 guests, premium bar service, overnight suite, valet parking. The payment had been processed that afternoon at 3:47 p.m. using a credit card ending in 8392. My credit card. The Platinum American Express I kept for business expenses and major purchases. The one I definitely had not used to book a wedding venue. My hands went cold as I scrolled through the charges. $15,000 for the venue, $12,000 for catering, $8,000 for florals, $6,000 for photography, $4,000 for videography, on, line item after line item, totaling more than most people made in a year. At the bottom was a cheerful note. Thank you for choosing Ashford Estate for your special day. We're thrilled to help make Madison and Alexander's wedding dreams come true. Madison was my fiancé. We'd been engaged for 8 months, together for 2 years before that. The wedding was supposed to be next summer, June 14th, 2025, a date we'd chosen together because it was exactly 3 years to the day after our first date. But I'd never heard of the Ashford Estate. Never seen a contract or a proposal. Never authorized a single dollar of this $63,400 charge. I pulled up my American Express account on my laptop, logged in with shaking fingers, navigated to recent transactions. There it was. Ashford Estate events, $63,400, processed at 3:47 p.m., marked as pending but already deducted from my available credit. I scrolled further back. More charges I didn't recognize. Kleinfeld Bridal, $8,900, 3 weeks ago. Invitation Gallery, $2,100 2 weeks ago. Something called Platinum Entertainment Services, $5,500 10 days ago. Florist's Garden, $4,200, 1 week ago. Over the past month, someone had charged $84,100 to my credit card for wedding expenses I'd never approved, never even seen. I grabbed my phone and called Madison. It rang 4 times before going to voicemail, her voice bright and cheerful. Hey, you've reached Madison. Leave a message and I'll call you back. I didn't leave a message. Tried again. Same result. I'd been working as a senior product manager at a tech company in Seattle for 6 years when this all started. Good job, solid salary of $180,000 annually, the kind of stable career that made parents nod approvingly when you mentioned it at dinner parties. I'd met Madison Whitaker at a friend's engagement party in March 2022, one of those spring gatherings where everyone drinks too much champagne and talks about how beautiful love is while secretly dreading their own relationship problems. She was a marketing coordinator for a luxury skincare company, blonde and polished in that way that comes naturally to some people and requires significant effort for others. 28 years old, bubbly, enthusiastic, the kind of person who made everyone around her feel more interesting just by being genuinely interested in what they had to say. We'd hit it off immediately, spent the whole party talking about travel and books and our shared obsession with Thai food. She'd given me her number without me asking, texted me first the next day, suggested we meet for dinner that weekend. 6 months later, we were talking about moving in together. A year after that, I'd proposed at the same restaurant where we'd had our first date, a small Thai place in Capitol Hill with terrible parking, but incredible curry. Her family had seemed normal at first, supportive, involved, the kind of close-knit unit where everyone talked on the phone multiple times a week and celebrated every holiday together. Her mother, Veronica Whitaker, was a former interior designer who'd retired early when Madison's father, Gregory, sold his commercial real estate company for what I assumed was a substantial sum. They lived in a sprawling house in Bellevue with a view of Lake Washington, the kind of place that appeared in home design magazines, all white marble and floor-to-ceiling windows. They'd welcomed me warmly at first, asked about my job and my family and my intentions with their daughter, standard parent stuff. Madison's older sister, Courtney, was married to a surgeon named Derek and had twin daughters who were 5. They seemed fine too. A little entitled maybe, a little too accustomed to luxury, but nothing that raised major red flags. I told myself I was overthinking things when Veronica made comments about my clothes or my car or my choice of wine. I told myself it was cultural differences when Gregory asked pointed questions about my career trajectory and retirement planning. I told myself it was just family dynamics when Madison always took their side in minor disagreements. I'd been wrong. The first real warning sign came 3 months after the engagement, in February 2024. Madison and I had gone to her parents' house for Sunday brunch, a weekly ritual I'd been participating in for the past year. We were sitting in their dining room, eating smoked salmon and discussing wedding plans, when Veronica pulled out a 3-ring binder labeled Madison's Dream Wedding in gold-embossed letters. "I've been collecting ideas," she said, sliding the binder across the table to me. "Just some thoughts on venues and themes and color palettes. To get the conversation started." I opened the binder. Inside were hundreds of pages, meticulously organized with tabs and dividers, venue options with price comparisons. catering menus with tasting notes, floral arrangements sorted by season and style, guest list drafts with seating charts, budget breakdowns allocating specific amounts to every category, $25,000 for venue, $18,000 for catering, $12,000 for florals, $10,000 for photography. The total at the bottom of the budget page was $165,000. I felt my stomach drop. "This is very thorough," I said carefully, trying to keep my voice neutral. But Madison and I were thinking something smaller. Maybe 100 guests, backyard ceremony, something more intimate. Veronica's smile didn't waver, but her eyes went cold. "Darling, a Whitaker wedding isn't small. We have standards to maintain, expectations." Madison had put her hand on mine under the table, squeezed gently. "We can talk about it," she'd said. "Mom's just excited. She's been planning this since I was little." That should have been the moment I stood my ground. Should have said clearly that this was our wedding, not a performance for the Whitaker family's social circle. Should have established boundaries. Instead, I'd smiled and nodded and told myself we'd figure it out later. We didn't figure it out later. What happened instead was that Veronica started calling Madison daily with wedding updates, forwarding her links to venues and vendors and dress designers. Madison started spending more time at her parents' house, having planning sessions that I wasn't invited to because I was busy with work, and they didn't want to bother me with details. When I asked about decisions, Madison would wave it off. "Mom's handling it," she'd say. "She knows what she's doing. We can trust her." I'd tried to get involved, really tried. Offered to go to venue tours and cake tastings and floral consultations. But somehow I was always told they'd already scheduled things during my work hours, or they'd just decided to swing by quickly without telling me, or my input wasn't really needed for this particular decision. Slowly, methodically, I was being excluded from my own wedding. By May, I'd realized something was seriously wrong. Madison stopped talking to me about wedding plans altogether. When I asked direct questions, she'd get defensive. "Why don't you trust my mother? She's doing this out of love. She wants everything to be perfect." When I suggested we sit down together and review decisions, she'd say we'd do it later, next week, soon. Next week never came. I started having dreams about showing up to my own wedding and not recognizing it, like I'd walked into someone else's ceremony by mistake. Not far from what was actually happening, as it turned out. In June, I got a text from an unknown number. "Hi, Alexander. This is Juliet from Ashford Estate. Just confirming your venue tour for Saturday at 2 p.m. So excited to show you our gardens." I hadn't scheduled a venue tour. When I showed the text to Madison, she'd gone pale. "Oh, that must be a mistake. I'll handle it." She'd taken my phone, typed something, handed it back. "All fixed." The text thread showed. "Sorry, wrong number. Please remove me from your list." I'd let it go. Shouldn't have. Now, sitting in my home office at 11:30 p.m., staring at $84,100 in unauthorized charges, I understood. They'd never intended to include me. This wedding wasn't about Madison and me starting a life together. It was about Veronica executing her vision, maintaining the Whitaker family image, putting on a show for their social circle. And they'd used my money to do it, my credit card to fund Veronica's fantasy. I called Madison again. Voicemail. Again. Voicemail. Texted. "We need to talk. Now. Call me immediately." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, "It's late. Can we talk tomorrow? I'm tired." "No," I typed back. "We talk now. I just got an email about a $63,400 charge to my credit card for a venue I've never heard of. Explain." The dots appeared for a long time. Too long. Finally, "Mom said she told you about Ashford Estate. It's the perfect venue. We toured it in March." I was never told. I never toured anything. I never authorized this charge. "We can discuss this tomorrow. You're being dramatic." Dramatic. I looked at the invoice again, at the itemized list of expenses totaling more than half my annual salary. "Madison, this is fraud. Someone used my credit card without permission. That's a crime." "It's not fraud. It's our wedding. You're being ridiculous." "Who has my credit card?" The dots appeared and disappeared several times. Then nothing. She'd stopped responding. I called my credit card company. The automated system tried to direct me to report fraud online, but I pressed 0 repeatedly until a human answered. "American Express Platinum Services, this is Robert speaking. How can I help you tonight?" His voice was professionally cheerful despite the late hour. "I need to report unauthorized charges on my account. Multiple transactions over the past month totaling over $84,000. Robert's tone shifted immediately, became more serious. "I'm sorry to hear that, sir. Let me pull up your account. Can you verify your name and the last 4 digits of your card?" I gave him the information, heard him typing. "Okay, Mr. Lawson, I'm showing your account now. Can you tell me which charges you're disputing?" I listed them methodically. Ashford Estate, Kleinfeld Bridal, Invitation Gallery, Platinum Entertainment Services, Florist's Garden, 5 others. "And you're stating you did not authorize any of these transactions?" "Correct. I have no idea how these charges were made. I have my physical card in my wallet. I've never given permission for anyone else to use my account." More typing. "Mr. Lawson, I'm looking at the transaction details. Several of these charges show in-person transactions with chip verification. Do you know how someone would have access to your card? My stomach sank. No. Unless... Can you tell me when these transactions occurred? Specific dates and times? Robert read them off. Kleinfeld Bridal, October 3rd at 2:15 p.m. Invitation Gallery, October 11th at 11:30 a.m. Platinum Entertainment, October 18th at 4 p.m. Every single charge had been made during standard business hours on weekdays when I was at work, when Madison would have been free, when she could have physically gone to these vendors. Sir, Robert said carefully, do you share this account with anyone? A spouse or family member? My fiancé has access to my wallet sometimes, I said slowly, my chest tightening, when I leave it at home or in my car, but I never gave her permission to use the card. I see. Given the pattern here, multiple authorized chip transactions over several weeks, this appears to be a case of unauthorized use by a known party rather than unknown fraud. That changes how we handle the dispute. What does that mean? It means we'll need you to file a formal fraud report and potentially a police report. These charges can be disputed, but you'll need to confirm that someone you know took your card without permission and used it fraudulently. Are you prepared to do that? Was I? That meant formally accusing Madison of theft, of fraud, of stealing $84,100 from me. Yes, I said. I'm prepared to do that. All right. I'm going to freeze your account immediately and issue you a new card. The disputed charges will be investigated, but I need to warn you this process can take 60 to 90 days, and in cases involving known parties, American Express may require you to pursue legal action independently. Understood. After I hung up with Robert, I sat in my office chair and tried to process what I'd just done. I'd frozen my credit card, effectively nuking every wedding deposit and payment that had been made with it. If vendors tried to process additional charges or refunds or anything else, they'd be declined. If final payments were due, they couldn't be paid. I'd just set off a bomb in Veronica Whitaker's carefully orchestrated wedding plans. My phone started ringing at 11:58 p.m. Madison, I answered. What did you do? Her voice was shrill, panicked. What did I do? Madison, you stole my credit card. You and your mother charged $84,000 to my account without permission. What did you think would happen? It's not stealing. It's our wedding. You were always going to pay for it anyway. The admission landed like a punch. So you admit you took my card and used it without asking? Silence. Then, Mom said you'd understand. She said you'd be happy we were handling everything, that you'd appreciate not having to worry about details. Your mother doesn't get to decide what I'd appreciate. Neither do you. This is fraud, Madison. Actual, legal fraud. You're overreacting. We can fix this. Just call the credit card company back and tell them it was a mistake. It wasn't a mistake. It was theft. Alexander, please. Her voice cracked, and I could hear she was crying now. The venue called me. They said your card was declined for the final payment. They're threatening to cancel everything. The wedding is in 7 months. We can't start over now. I felt something cold settle in my chest, a clarity I hadn't had before. We're not starting over. There isn't going to be a wedding. Madison gasped. What? No, you don't mean that. You're upset. You're angry. I get it. But we can work through this. We love each other. Do we? Because I don't steal from people I love. I don't exclude them from major life decisions. I don't let my mother control every aspect of their lives. That's not fair. Mom was just trying to help. Help? She's planned an entire wedding without me. She's spent my money without asking. She's turned you into someone who thinks that's acceptable. When was the last time you made a decision without consulting her? When was the last time you chose me over her? Silence. Long, heavy silence. I need to talk to her, Madison finally said. She'll know what to do. Of course she will. Go talk to Mommy. Let her fix this. Let her tell you how to manipulate me into accepting this. You're being cruel. I'm being honest. Maybe for the first time in months. I hung up before she could respond. My phone immediately started buzzing with texts. Madison, please don't do this. We can work it out. I love you. Call me back. I turned my phone on Do Not Disturb and went to bed. Didn't sleep much, but I went to bed. Saturday morning, my phone had 43 missed calls and 67 text messages, most from Madison, several from Veronica, 2 from Gregory, 1 from Courtney. I ignored all of them and called my attorney. Her name was Diana Kowalski, 46 years old, 22 years practicing family and contract law in Washington State. I'd worked with her on some employment contract reviews a few years back and knew she was thorough, smart, and didn't take any nonsense. Alex? She answered on the second ring. This is a surprise. Everything okay? I need to talk to you about a legal situation. Do you have time? For you? Always. What's going on? I explained the whole situation. The wedding planning I'd been excluded from, the unauthorized credit card charges, the phone call with American Express, the realization that my fiancé and her family had been systematically stealing from me and cutting me out of my own wedding. Diana listened without interrupting, occasionally making small sounds of acknowledgement. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. Alex, I'm going to be very direct with you. What they did constitutes fraud, theft, and potentially identity theft, depending on how they obtained your credit card information. You could press criminal charges. I don't want to send my fiancé to jail. Former fiancé, I hope. Yeah, former. Diana's voice softened. I know this is painful, but you need to protect yourself legally and financially. Here's what we're going to do. First, you're going to document everything. Every text, every email, every charge, every conversation. Screenshot it all and send it to me. Second, you're going to file a police report for the fraudulent charges. I know that feels extreme, but it creates an official record and protects you if this escalates. Third, you're going to send a formal written notice to Madison and her family that the engagement is terminated and they are to cease all wedding planning immediately. Fourth, we're going to contact every vendor they used and inform them that all contracts are void due to fraud. Can you do that? Yes. Good. And Alex, change every password you have. Bank accounts, email, social media, everything. If Madison had access to your credit card, she might have access to other things. Assume she has all your information and lock everything down. Understood. I'll draft the termination letter and vendor notifications today. You focus on documentation and the police report. Call me if anything escalates before Monday. After we hung up, I spent 3 hours screenshotting text messages, downloading bank statements, forwarding emails to Diana. The documentation was damning. Texts from Veronica to Madison about using Alex's card and he'll understand eventually. Emails from vendors confirming payments and thanking Mr. Lawson for deposits I'd never made. Calendar invitations for planning meetings I'd never been invited to. By 2 p.m., I'd compiled a 47-page PDF of evidence showing a systematic pattern of exclusion and financial fraud. At 3:15 p.m., someone started pounding on my front door. I looked through the peephole and saw Gregory Whitaker, red-faced and furious. Alexander, open this door. We need to talk. I didn't open it. Pulled out my phone instead and started recording audio. Gregory, I'm not opening the door. If you want to communicate, you can do so through my attorney. Your attorney? Don't be ridiculous. This is family business. It's fraud. That's criminal business. I've contacted American Express and frozen my account. I've documented all the unauthorized charges. I'm filing a police report. If you want to discuss this, have your lawyer contact mine. You're making a huge mistake. Do you know who I am? Who my family is? I will destroy you. Your career, your reputation, everything. I saved the recording, backed it up to cloud storage, texted it to Diana with a note. Threats from Gregory Whitaker, 3:16 p.m., outside my residence. Gregory pounded on the door for another 5 minutes before leaving. My phone started ringing immediately. Veronica. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. Alexander, I don't know what Madison told you, but there's been a terrible misunderstanding. I was only trying to help plan a beautiful wedding for my daughter. If there were miscommunications about money, we can discuss that like adults. Please call me back so we can resolve this reasonably. I forwarded the voicemail to Diana with a note. Veronica attempting damage control. Notice she doesn't deny the charges, just calls them miscommunications. Sunday morning, I drove to the police station and filed a formal fraud report. The officer who took my statement was Detective James Thornton, 28 years with Seattle PD, currently assigned to financial crimes. He listened to my story while taking notes, occasionally asking clarifying questions. So your fiancé had physical access to your credit card? Yes. I sometimes left my wallet at home when I went to work. We were living together. And you're certain you never gave verbal or written permission for her to use the card? Absolutely certain. I have text messages and emails showing they deliberately planned the wedding without involving me. The charges were made without my knowledge or consent. Detective Thornton reviewed my documentation, the 47-page PDF I'd compiled, the recordings of Gregory's threats. This is very thorough, Mr. Lawson. Most fraud victims don't document this well. I work in tech. Documentation is part of my job. He smiled slightly. It shows. Based on what you've provided, there's definitely probable cause for fraud charges. The amount exceeds $84,000, which makes this a felony in Washington. I'm going to open an investigation. We'll contact the credit card company, subpoena the transaction records, interview the involved parties. What happens next? We investigate, gather evidence, present to the prosecutor. If they decide to charge, your fiancé and potentially her mother could face felony fraud charges. That carries potential prison time and mandatory restitution. I don't necessarily want them to go to prison. I just want my money back and for them to understand they can't do this. Detective Thornton leaned back in his chair. I understand, but once we open a criminal investigation, it's out of your hands. If we find evidence of felony fraud, the state prosecutes. You don't get to decide whether charges are filed. Okay? There's another option. You could pursue civil action, sue for the return of the money plus damages. That keeps it in civil court, gives you more control. But it doesn't carry the same deterrent effect as criminal charges. Can I do both? You can. File the criminal report, which we've done, and also pursue civil litigation. The criminal case often makes the civil case stronger because it establishes wrongdoing officially. Then let's do both. Detective Thornton nodded. I'll need you to sign the formal complaint. Once you do, this becomes an official investigation. Are you sure you want to proceed? I thought about Madison crying on the phone, about Veronica's carefully curated wedding binder, about Gregory threatening to destroy my career, about the wedding I'd been systematically excluded from while they spent my money. Yes, I'm sure. I signed the complaint. The investigation was official. Monday morning, Diana sent a formal letter to Madison, Veronica, and Gregory Whitaker via certified mail and email. I got copies of both. The letter was professionally brutal. Dear Ms. Whitaker, Mrs. Whitaker, and Mr. Whitaker, please be advised that Alexander Lawson has terminated his engagement to Madison Whitaker, effective immediately due to fraudulent use of his financial accounts and systematic exclusion from wedding planning. All unauthorized charges made to Mr. Lawson's American Express account are being disputed as fraudulent transactions. A police report has been filed with Seattle Police Department, case number 2024-89432, and a criminal investigation is ongoing. All wedding planning activities are to cease immediately. Any vendors who have received deposits or payments from Mr. Lawson's credit card will be notified that the contracts are void due to fraud. Mr. Lawson demands immediate return of all property, including any copies of credit cards, keys, or personal items belonging to him. Any further contact should be directed through legal counsel. Do not contact Mr. Lawson directly. Sincerely, Diana Kowalski, attorney at law. Diana also sent letters to every vendor on my credit card statement: Ashford Estate, Kleinfeld Bridal, Invitation Gallery, Florist's Garden, all of them. The vendor letters explained that all charges had been made fraudulently, that a criminal investigation was underway, and that all contracts should be considered void. She requested immediate refund of all deposits and payments. The response was instantaneous and chaotic. At 10:30 a.m., I got a call from Juliette Moreau, the events coordinator at Ashford Estate. Mr. Lawson, I just received a very concerning letter from your attorney. Is this a joke? It's not a joke. The charges made to my credit card were unauthorized. I never signed a contract with your venue. I never authorized any payments. But we've been working with your fiancé and her mother for months. They've been to the venue 7 times. We've done menu tastings, floral consultations, timeline planning. I was never told about any of that. I've never been to your venue. I've never seen a contract. Those charges were made with my stolen credit card. Juliette's voice rose slightly, professional composure cracking. Mr. Lawson, your wedding is scheduled for June 14th. That's 7 months away. We've blocked off our entire estate for that weekend. We've turned down other bookings. If you cancel now, we lose a significant amount of revenue. Then you should sue Madison and Veronica Whitaker for fraud. They're the ones who made fraudulent bookings using stolen financial information. We have a $63,000 deposit. That's non-refundable according to our contract. A contract I never signed. Take it up with the people who forged my signature. Mr. Lawson, please, can we discuss this reasonably? Perhaps there's been a misunderstanding. There's no misunderstanding. My credit card was stolen. Charges were made without my authorization. I've filed a police report. This is fraud. If you don't return the deposit, you're keeping money that was obtained through criminal means. That makes you an accessory. Silence. Then, I need to speak with our legal team. You should do that. Have them contact my attorney, Diana Kowalski. I gave her Diana's contact information and hung up. 30 seconds later, my phone rang again. Kleinfeld Bridal, then Invitation Gallery. Then Platinum Entertainment, then Florist's Garden. Every vendor, one after another, panicking about Diana's letter, demanding explanations, threatening their own legal action. I directed them all to Diana and blocked their numbers. At 1 p.m., my office phone rang. I'd been ignoring my cell, so apparently someone had looked up my work number. Alexander Lawson speaking. Alex, it's Veronica. Her voice was tight, controlled fury barely masked by false sweetness. We need to talk about this ridiculous situation. I don't have anything to say to you, Veronica. All communication goes through my attorney. Your attorney is threatening to destroy Madison's reputation. She's a young woman who made a simple mistake. Do you really want to ruin her life over a misunderstanding about money? She stole $84,000 from me. That's not a misunderstanding. That's a felony. It's wedding expenses. Money you would have spent anyway. Money you and Madison chose to spend without asking me. On a wedding you planned without including me. Using my credit card that you took without permission. That's theft, Veronica, no matter how you try to justify it. Her voice went cold. You're making a very serious mistake. My husband has connections. Legal connections, business connections, political connections. If you continue with this absurd fraud claim, he will make sure you regret it. Your career, your reputation, your future in this city, all of it can disappear. Are you threatening me? I'm warning you. Gregory is furious. He's ready to file defamation suits, harassment claims, whatever it takes to protect Madison. If you think you can destroy our family without consequences, you're delusional. I'm not trying to destroy anyone. I'm trying to get back money that was stolen from me and end a relationship built on lies. The only liar here is you. Madison loved you. She trusted you. She was planning a beautiful future with you, and you're throwing it away over money. You're pathetic. I'm done with this conversation, Veronica. Don't call me again. I hung up, hands shaking. Immediately called Diana and recounted the conversation. They're escalating, she said grimly. Threats of lawsuits, character attacks, using Gregory's connections to intimidate you. This is classic wealthy family playbook. Try to bully you into backing down before their fraud gets exposed publicly. What do I do? Document everything, which you're already doing. Don't engage with them directly. Let them make threats. Every threat, every intimidation attempt, it all helps our case. They're panicking because they know they're caught. By Wednesday, the situation had exploded across both families' social circles. Madison's friends started posting vague subtweets about men who can't handle strong women making decisions and guys who freak out over wedding planning. Veronica's book club friends were apparently spreading stories about how I'd abandoned Madison and refused to contribute financially to the wedding. My own friends started texting, confused and concerned. Dude, is it true you called off the wedding? What happened with Madison? Someone said you accused her of stealing? I sent the same response to everyone. Madison and her family used my credit card without permission to charge $84,000 in wedding expenses I never approved. I filed a police report. That's all I can say right now. Some friends immediately understood. Others pushed back. Come on, man. She's your fiancé. Isn't that kind of normal for wedding planning? Did you really call the cops on your future mother-in-law? I stopped responding. Let them believe what they wanted. The people who mattered would wait for the truth. Thursday morning, I got a call from my boss, Richard Owens, VP of product at our company. Alex, can you come to my office? His tone was neutral, professional, which immediately put me on edge. I walked to his office, knocked on the open door. Richard waved me in, gestured to a chair. Close the door. I did. Sat down. Waited. I got a call yesterday from Gregory Whitaker. My stomach dropped. He claims you've been harassing his daughter Madison, making false fraud accusations, destroying her reputation with malicious lies. He said he's considering legal action and wanted to make me aware of the situation before it affects the company. That's not what happened. I didn't think it was. I've known you for 6 years, Alex. You're not vindictive or reckless, but I need to hear your side. I explained everything. The systematic exclusion from wedding planning, the unauthorized credit card charges, the police report and fraud investigation, the attempt by Madison's family to intimidate me into backing down. Richard listened, his expression darkening. Do you have documentation? 47 pages of it. Text messages, emails, bank statements, recordings of threats. I can send it all to you if you need it. Send it to HR. If Gregory Whitaker tries to interfere with your employment, we need a record of the actual facts. And Alex? Yeah? I'm sorry you're going through this. For what it's worth, you're doing the right thing. People who steal don't get a pass just because they're family or they're planning a wedding. Thank you. I left his office feeling slightly less alone. Friday afternoon, exactly 1 week after I'd frozen my credit card, the crisis peaked. I got a call from Detective Thornton. Mr. Lawson, I wanted to update you on the investigation. We've interviewed Madison Whitaker and Veronica Whitaker. Both admitted to using your credit card without explicit permission, but claimed they believed you'd consented implicitly because you were engaged and planning a life together. That's not how consent works. I agree. Their statements actually help our case because they admitted to taking the card and making charges. The prosecutor is reviewing for potential charges. Given the amount, $84,100, this would be first-degree theft, a Class B felony. If convicted, they're looking at up to 10 years in prison and $20,000 in fines each. My chest tightened. 10 years. Is there any way to, I don't know, handle this without prison time? That's up to the prosecutor and ultimately a judge, but there might be options. Plea deals, restitution agreements, probation. They'd have to admit wrongdoing and pay back every cent, plus probably some penalties. I just want my money back. I don't want to ruin their lives. Mr. Lawson, they ruined their own lives when they committed felony theft. You're the victim here. Don't forget that. After we hung up, I sat in my office staring at my computer screen, not really seeing anything. Part of me felt vindicated. They'd admitted it. Admitted taking my card, making charges, excluding me. But another part felt hollow. I'd loved Madison once. Maybe still did in some broken way. The idea of her in prison, her life destroyed, it made me feel sick. My phone buzzed. Madison. A text. Can we please talk? In person? No lawyers? No family? Just you and me? I need to explain. I should have said no. Should have blocked the number. Instead, I texted back. Where? Our Thai place. The one where we had our first date. 7 p.m. tonight? I agreed. Told Diana what I was doing. She was not happy. Alex, this is a terrible idea. She's either going to try to manipulate you into dropping charges, or she's recording you to use against you in court. I'll record it too. Washington is a two-party consent state, so I'll tell her I'm recording. And if she refuses to let you record, then I leave. Diana sighed. Fine. But I'm texting you every 30 minutes. If you don't respond, I'm calling the police. At 7 p.m., I walked into Thai Basil, the small restaurant in Capitol Hill, where Madison and I had met for our first date 2.5 years ago. She was already there, sitting at the same table we'd sat at that first night, looking smaller and more fragile than I'd ever seen her. No makeup, hair in a messy ponytail, wearing jeans and a sweatshirt instead of her usual polished outfits. She stood when she saw me, started to reach for a hug, then stopped when she saw my expression. "Thank you for coming," she said quietly. "I wasn't sure you would." I sat down across from her, pulled out my phone, set it on the table. "I'm recording this conversation. Do you consent to being recorded?" Her face fell. "Alex, I wanted to talk, not create more evidence for lawyers. Those are my terms. You consent to recording or I leave." She hesitated, then nodded. "Fine. I consent." I started the recording app, stated the date, time, location, and that Madison Whitaker had consented to being recorded. Then I waited. Madison took a shaky breath. "I'm sorry. For all of it. For taking your card, for excluding you from planning, for letting my mother control everything. You were right about all of it, and I'm so sorry." "Why did you do it?" "Because it was easier than standing up to her. My whole life, Mom has had this vision for me. The perfect daughter, the perfect career, the perfect wedding, the perfect life. And I always just went along with it because fighting her is exhausting. She's relentless. She wears you down until you give up. So you let her steal $84,000 from me because fighting her was too hard?" Madison flinched. "It sounds terrible when you say it like that." "It is terrible, Madison. You chose your mother over me, over our relationship, over basic honesty and respect." She started crying, quiet tears running down her face. I know I did. And I can't take it back. But Alex, I love you. I really do love you. And I think you still love me. Can't we find a way past this?" "How? How do I trust you again after you systematically lied to me for months?" "I don't know. Therapy? Couples counseling? Time? I'll do whatever it takes." "What about your mother? What about her? Are you going to set boundaries with her? Tell her she can't control your life anymore? Choose me over her when it matters?" Madison looked down at her hands, said nothing. "That's what I thought." I stood up. "You love me, but not enough to stand up to Veronica. You're sorry, but not sorry enough to change. We're done, Madison. For real this time. Please." She grabbed my hand across the table. "Please don't give up on us. I'll change. I promise I'll change. You've been saying that for months. About wedding planning, about your mother, about 100 small things. You never change because you don't want to. You like having someone else make decisions. You like being taken care of. You just don't like the consequences." I pulled my hand away gently. "I hope you figure out who you are outside of your mother's shadow. I really do. But I can't wait around while you do it. Not after this." I left the restaurant, got in my car, sat in the parking lot for 20 minutes before I could drive. My phone buzzed. "Diana, you okay?" "Yeah, I'm okay. It's really over." "Good. You did the right thing." I drove home in silence. No radio, no podcasts, just the sound of rain on the windshield and my own breathing. When I got to my apartment, there was an envelope taped to my door. Inside was a check for $84,100 made out from Gregory Whitaker's business account. A note attached in Veronica's handwriting. "We're returning every penny. Now drop the charges and leave our family alone." I photographed the check and note, sent them to Diana and Detective Thornton. Then I deposited the check. Didn't cash it yet, just deposited it to my account where it would sit pending. The next morning, Diana called. "The Whitaker's attorney contacted me. They're offering a settlement, full restitution, which they've already given you, plus $25,000 additional for damages and legal fees. In exchange, you drop the criminal complaint and sign an NDA. What do you think?" "I think they're panicking. The prosecutor is moving forward with charges regardless of whether you cooperate, because Madison and Veronica admitted to the theft. But a settlement would get you compensated quickly without the stress of a trial. I want them to face consequences. They are facing consequences. Their reputations are destroyed. Their wedding plans are canceled. Madison's friends know what she did. That's significant social consequences even without criminal charges." I thought about it. About Madison crying in the restaurant. About Veronica's threats. About Gregory's connections. "Accept the settlement," I said. "But I wanted on record that they admitted to fraudulent use of my credit card and that the money was stolen. No NDA that prevents me from talking about what happened." "They won't like that." "I don't care. Those are my terms." Diana negotiated for 3 days. Finally, the Whitakers agreed. $109,100 total payment, $84,100 restitution, plus $25,000 damages. Written admission that charges were made without authorization. No NDA, but a non-disparagement clause meaning neither party could publicly trash the other. I signed the agreement. The money cleared my account. The criminal charges were dropped after I signed a statement saying I'd been made whole financially and didn't wish to pursue prosecution. Madison and Veronica avoided felony records by the slimmest margin. The wedding, obviously, was canceled. I heard through mutual friends that Veronica had to personally call every guest and explain that the wedding was off, that she'd lost deposits on nearly everything, that the family's reputation in their social circle was destroyed. Someone told me Madison moved to Portland to get away from the gossip. I didn't ask for details. 6 months later, I'm sitting in my new apartment in Fremont, a different neighborhood, a fresh start. I changed jobs, took a position at a different tech company with better pay and less drama. I'm dating someone new, slowly, carefully, with clear boundaries and honest communication. We split checks. We make decisions together. She's never met my family because I'm not ready for that yet. Maybe I will be eventually. The $109,100 is sitting in an investment account earning 7% annually. I donated $10,000 of it to a nonprofit that helps fraud victims navigate legal systems. Felt appropriate. I don't talk to Madison. Don't check her social media. Don't ask about her. She's part of my past. A lesson learned about red flags and boundaries and the importance of saying no to people you love when they're hurting you. Diana sent me an article last month about the Whitaker family. Apparently, Gregory's business partner sued him for misappropriation of funds, claiming Gregory had used company money to pay back my settlement. The lawsuit is ongoing. Veronica quit her book club and apparently rarely leaves her house. Courtney divorced Derek, though I don't think that's related to my situation. The whole family imploded in ways I never intended, but probably should have expected. Families built on appearances and control rarely survive exposure. I still think about that night sometimes, sitting in my office at 11:23 p.m., opening an email about a $63,400 charge I never authorized. Think about how one moment of clarity, one decision to say no, changed the entire trajectory of my life. I could have called Madison, worked it out, convinced myself it was a misunderstanding. Could have let Veronica steamroll me into paying for a wedding I had no part in planning. Could have become the kind of husband who was always secondary to his mother-in-law, always excluded, always paying for things he didn't want. Instead, I canceled everything. Froze my credit card, filed a police report, hired an attorney, stood my ground when they threatened and manipulated and cried. And yeah, it destroyed the relationship, destroyed their wedding plans, damaged their reputation. But it saved me. Saved me from a marriage built on lies and exclusion and financial abuse. Saved me from spending the rest of my life wondering why I was never enough, never included, never valued. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is walk away, even when it hurts, even when people call you heartless and dramatic and cruel, even when you still love the person you're walking away from. My phone buzzes. Text from my girlfriend. Dinner at 7? That new sushi place in Ballard? I smile. Text back. Sounds great. Want to check the menu together first? Sure, I'll send you the link. Simple, easy, equal, the way it should have been all along. I close my laptop, look around my apartment, my space that I chose and furnished and paid for without anyone else's input or control. It's smaller than the place I shared with Madison. Quieter. But it's mine. Every decision, every piece of furniture, every choice. Mine. And that's worth more than any wedding could have been. Thanks for watching till the end. Make sure to subscribe and like to not miss the next story.